Representative Buckner, is he here?
Please remove Representative Buckner from the affirmative.
Representative Crespo.
Please remove Representative Crespo from the affirmative.
DeLuca.
Please remove DeLuca from the affirmative.
Representative Stopper Murray.
Please remove Representative Stopper Murray from the affirmative. Would you like to continue the verification?
That is floor action. Remember Friday before last where the House was in session and they were in late the day before. It was approaching, like 10:30, and then some Republicans noticed there weren't enough Democrats in the chamber, but yet they had enough votes to pass partisan legislation. They called for a verification vote. It's a procedural move in the Illinois House. And at first, that procedural move was denied because of some weird thing of only one person speaking in support and one person speaking in opposition, and a Democrat stood up in opposition. So they essentially tried to not allow for a verification, but a verification was ultimately allowed where they reviewed and found that at least 4 Democrats weren't in the chamber. They stopped the verification after that because the bill didn't have enough votes to pass. And I tell you, when I put this story together, it's huge how much interest there is in what exactly is going on with the Illinois state legislature. And now we have, based off of what happened 2 Fridays ago, an ethics investigation being requested. One of the House Republicans that is part of that request joining me now, Jed Davis from Newark. Thank you so much for taking time this morning. I guess just lay it out there. What are you guys hoping to get from this investigation?
No, thanks for having me on, Greg. We just want truth. It's all we're looking for is truth and honesty and common sense. And they seem to be lacking in Springfield. And we just want to get to the bottom of what happened Friday night. We cannot be voting under, duress or under conditions that are not ethical. We are there to hold up an ethical oath on behalf of the people that elected us. And we just want to ensure that all 118 members are complying with that.
Jed, you're new to the General Assembly. Did you expect anything different when you got in there? What were your expectations?
It is about what I expected, but I am learning an awful lot, but I did not. What happened Friday night is not what I expected at all. Just the general chaos I kind of expected, but the unethical actions that we witnessed on Friday is beneath the people of Illinois, and that really just shocked me. It just really shocked me and irked me and kind of stirred me deep within my soul. So it is something that I think that people need to know, because what happens in Springfield is it never gets communicated back to the people, especially when we're there when everyone's in bed and sleeping. So, the people need to know what is happening down there in that chamber, because it is absolutely unacceptable.
So with this request for an ethics investigation, give me some more details about that. Did you file this with the Legislative Inspector General?
If it is not filed, it is to be filed here shortly this week. We're all on spring break, so thank God we're not passing legislation these next 2 weeks. You get a reprieve from the government. So we're all home, but I know that our staff, our Freedom Caucus staff down in Springfield, and a couple of the members that are closer to Springfield are kind of pushing that one across the finish line.
Jed Davis with us. He is a Republican state's representative here in Illinois, reviewing some of what happened a couple of Fridays ago for bill deadline. Now, Jed, that's obviously, a pretty contentious time. You got a deadline approaching. At the crux of this, is this about the late nights you guys work running up to deadlines? Because I imagine it's going to be late nights as well come mid-May when the deadline to have session wrapped up comes around. But is it about the late nights, or is it more about the integrity of elected representatives being accounted for when they put their name on the board?
Yeah, no, I think the late nights is just a function of the dysfunction and kind of the unorganization. So that is one issue, but the other issue is definitely that integrity. We are elected to do a job. So when we're in session, at least I would think that the people who voted me into a representative for the 75th, when we're in session, they expect me to be in my chair. And I don't know why that would be any different for any elected official. If you are in session, you are there to do a job for the people, your butt should be in the chair representing your district. And it just got to the point where people were either frustrated with the dysfunction, they were tired, they didn't want to be there anymore. They started to go home. They just left, or they weren't at least on the Capitol complex. Maybe they went back to their hotel. I am not sure, but they were still being accounted for in the vote roll call. So even though they weren't on the floor, their switch, their box, was still being voted. And that's what we questioned. We raised our hand. Dan Calkins and also Patrick Windhorst did a phenomenal job, raised their hands and just said, hey, this isn't right. We need a roll call of this vote. And as you played at the beginning of this segment, sure enough, they weren't there.
Jed Davis with us. Give us again some of your first impressions after a deadline week and the types of legislation that's ultimately passed. I think the House passed 460 plus bills. The Senate passed like 250. I can't even remember all the bills that have passed. But what's your takeaway from all that you've heard, at least debated to some degree, on the House floor? What direction are we going here in Illinois?
Well, it's not a good direction. That's up for debate, probably depending on your political trend. But in my opinion, it is not a healthy direction for the state of Illinois. We are debating things. We are a state in crisis from employment. I just did a small advisory council with 20 businesses around the table in my office, and all of them just complaining about overregulation. They cannot find qualified workers. There's just a huge labor shortage. And they have significant issues just running their day-to-day business and keeping it afloat. So we can't stand here and say, man, Illinois is amazing when these business owners who are the bread and butter of our community are struggling to keep their doors open. So it is just a lot of angst, and it is just a function, again, of the dysfunction that I said earlier. We are debating topics that are irrelevant to the daily life of the people of Illinois, and we need to shift our focus and get out of this insanity of tax and regulate the snot out of people's lives.
Jed Davis with us, a Republican from Newark. And as I mentioned, when we put the story out and reviewed video and posted the video, it's been viewed thousands and thousands of times. There's a lot of interest in this. What are you hearing from your constituents at home? Of course, you're a Republican. You've got Republicans who majority supported you in your district. But what are some of the things, do you feel they're getting more plugged in now as to how the legislature works, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, no, they're definitely engaged, and I try to do my best. We communicate a lot to the constituents of the 75th. I ran on a platform of transparency and access. I want people to know I'm trying to shine a big spotlight. I may not be able to control much in Springfield, but I can shine a spotlight on the insanity that is happening there and the things that we're debating as a General Assembly. So that is my goal, and then to communicate that back to the voters here of, hey, here's what's happening in Illinois. We need a general wake-up call across the board, across the aisle, because I know there are Democrats in district that would not say what happened Friday night is right. And whether that was a Republican or a Democrat issue, it needs to be called out and held accountable. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. So voters are engaged. They reach out to me all the time. I'm a weirdo. I've got my cell phone on my website. So I get a lot of dialogue with people back and forth, and it's been tremendously helpful.
Jed Davis, state representative, greatly appreciate you taking the time. We'll be watching closely to see what the legislative inspector general does with this request from Republicans to investigate what you called on your social media channel shenanigans. So greatly appreciate you taking the time this morning, and we'll definitely connect again soon, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.